everybody. Welcome to Coffee Connection Live. It is our first one of the year, and we're so happy you're here. And an extra special welcome to our guest, David Carrera, who is joining us today from Okinawa, Japan. David, welcome. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wow. Okay. Welcome. Hey, by the way, happy. Just want to say that to the USO. So fantastic. 80 years and going. So just amazing. I don't know what you want to hear about me. I always hate talking about myself, but people say I talk a lot, so I might as well just pick that topic and go with it. So basically, I'm a military spouse. I've been a military spouse since 2008, since I married my wife, my beautiful wife, Edith, and it's been a pretty interesting journey since. I think end of 2018, 2019 was really just amazing. I got nominated. I'd never really heard of the program. And it was just pretty fantastic just to be nominated. Then I ended up winning the base, and then I ended up winning overall, which is really good. Unfortunately, we really couldn't do anything because obviously COVID hit, which is why we are now 20/2021 military spouses of the year, the sensational six group, and Paulette obviously winning the overall, which is good for her. Fantastic. We've become really close. I have to say, it's opened up a whole bunch of doors, and I've met a whole lot of people that have really helped me along this journey, and even more so after the official title came out. Pretty fantastic. And Lori's is just amazing. She has run us through the gauntlet of everything to expect, and she's just been really great. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to get together, but we will. This isn't going to last forever. This can't last forever.
Absolutely. It's not going to last forever. We're already on the tail end. I love Sensational Six. That's the best thing I've heard. And yes, definitely a shout out to AFI and to Lori and to everyone who's watching who's part of that family, because we know you guys are a tight-knit group. David, where are you from originally? Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and where you've been in life.
I grew up in a fairly small place, Hartford, Connecticut, up in the Northeast. My parents both immigrated here from Cuba in the late 60s, so I'm first generation American, and the Spanish was my first language. And growing up there, my dad and my mom, I grew up with my twin sister, so there is another one of me, at least a half. And I also grew up with my brother, and we had a pretty good childhood, a really good upbringing. Connecticut's a great place. And from there on, I just started getting into TV and stuff like that, production back in the early days, and managed to make a career out of it. So, and eventually moving to Tampa, where I actually met my wife. And it's just been a really, when you look back on it now, there's so much I want to say, but I don't think you got enough time. So I'll just leave it.
And we're here. It's Friday morning for you. It's Thursday evening for me. We've got decaf or caffeinated, whatever you choose. I'm here for stories. I'm here to hear about it. I do want to invite everyone who's watching from home, though. We're here to make connections. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, feel free to drop it in the chat box, along with where you're joining us from tonight. We want to make some connections, and we want to know where everybody's joining us from. So feel free to share with everybody in the chat box where you're joining from, and if you have a LinkedIn profile. David, you mentioned that you have a background in TV, production. Tell us about life before you met your wife, and take us up to how you met her.
Life before I met my wife was glorious. Champagne wishes, caviar dreams. No, I'm kidding. It was terrible. It actually wasn't that bad. I focused really primarily on my career. And so I started off in broadcast at a local level because of my mom. My mom actually had the very first Spanish talk show on network television. She was on CBS in Hartford with a show called Barrio. So she was interviewing like Jose Feliciano and Eric Estrada and stuff like that. So I got to meet these people like when I was a kid. I didn't know who they were, but it was pretty funny. And so I would go with her at these show tapings, and I picked up a lot. The guys would teach me audio and stuff. So I worked I got a job after school at ESPN. So I was a producer for them for about 6 years. And I went to HBO Latino in New York City, and everything I've done into this time is all Spanish. I only did Spanish soccer, in Portuguese, and Spanish and Portuguese as well at HBO. And then I moved to Florida to produce for Home Shopping Network. And that was a lot of fun. So many great people there. Learned a lot. and actually met my wife there, which was fantastic. So, I moved around a lot after due to the military, but it's been a fun go-to. So I've interviewed celebrities and done a lot of things, but I think, to be honest with you, after I met my wife and found the military community, I think that's where I've really met the most impressive people that have come to my life, to be honest.
So don't leave us hanging. How did you meet your wife?
I met my wife. It's a funny story, and I'll be quick. Um, I went to go see a thing on Cuban art at the Sarasota at the Ringling Museum in Sarasota, and it turned out to be. And I went on a Thursday because I remember it was free on Thursday. So if you show your student ID, so I showed my work ID. They thought it was a student ID, so I got in. So yeah, it was false, but um, I got there and it was like an Ansel Adams exhibit. So I started, looking around. I was ready to leave, and this tour guide, an older woman, sat down and said, "Are you, where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Connecticut." And we're sitting outside in a little area before you walk into the exhibit. And so I started talking to her. I was brand new in Tampa. I didn't really know a lot of people. And I'm chatty, so I figured, why not chat with her for a little bit? So she started asking me, "Do you know this person? Do you know that person?" And yeah, yeah. And then after a while, I'm like, "Yeah, I really kind of want to go, but I don't want to be rude to this nice woman who's just talking to me." So I tried to get up and she grabs my arm. She's like, "No, no, do you know this person? Do you know this person?" I'm like, "Okay, now this is a thing. Do I blink a lot of times so someone can come help me?" And then I see a woman walking towards me on her cell phone, and she's speaking Spanish with a very clear Cuban accent. We all have accents, just so you know. That's a little secret, but we all have it. And so I stood up and I said, "Oh, I am so glad you're here. I've been waiting for you for at least 20 minutes." And she looked at me like I was nuts. And then I said, I looked at my elderly friend and I said, "My friend is here. We're going to go inside and see the exhibit." She's like, "Oh, okay." And then, so I said, "Would you join me? Come on in." We walked in. And then when we got in there, she said, "Did you just use me to get out of a conversation?" I said, "I used you to get out of a conversation." So after that day, we went to, and it's funny because for her trouble, I bought her a book about the exhibit at the exhibit, and we went and had our, I guess what you call a first date at Panera afterwards. She was first year, so we talked about that a little bit, and then it just kind of went from there. Although there was a 3-month lull where I didn't hear from her because I thought that Panera meeting went really well. We were there for a long time, and apparently she neglected to tell me she was in the Navy and she was going to basic training, and so they couldn't. I don't think she could have her cell phone there or anything. So I didn't hear from her for a while. So I was sending, the typical guy like, "Don't you like me?" And the voicemails like, "Haven't heard from you for a while. Thought you like Panera." I don't know. So I didn't hear from her for a while, and then like out of the blue, my phone rang. She's like, "Hey, do you want to come to a party in Sarasota?" I'm like, "Who is this? And where have you?" And when she told me, I'm like, "Where have you been?" Because I thought I was cast off the island. I didn't know. So then she told me she was in the Navy, and everything came together. And after that, it was all, it was just us, and worked out really well. What is it?
So you meet someone who's in the Navy, but you already have, like, you've got your career, I've always been the TV guy, the entertainment guy. So what was going through your mind? Like when you realized, like, this is the woman I'm going to marry, but she's got a career path, I've got a career path. Can you take us through that conversation a little bit?
So I don't think there was a conversation. I think it was kind of like, I remember she's like, "Yeah, we're going to Portsmouth." And I'm like, "Oh, we're going to Portsmouth. Okay, and so how long are we gonna be in Portsmouth?" She's like, 3 years. I said, "No, wait, what do you mean?" And then that conversation happened. Like, no, every 3 years, or 2 years, we have to. And I'm like, "Oh." So it kind of hit me like, okay, well, whatever, she's worth it. So I said, as long as I'm near an airport, I can work. So I left my gig in Florida and moved to Portsmouth with my wife while she was doing her residency. So yeah.
That's a big change. That's Tampa to Portsmouth. So are you married at this point now?
Yeah. Oh no. Yes. We married in February of 2008. So graduated and then we moved to Portsmouth. Yeah.
Okay. So So now you are the male dependent of
Yeah.
a Navy doctor. Is that the right? Is it,
Yeah. Navy.
okay. So tell us about life as a male dependent, because I'm an Army wife. I know what it's like to be an Army wife. Tell us what it's like to be a Navy husband, a male spouse.
Um, it's about as rare as walking in the forest and seeing Bigfoot riding a unicorn, and having no one around anybody that you saw it. So it's been really interesting. For the most part, uh, it's a little lonely sometimes, especially at the beginning because I didn't know what to expect. Like, okay, so I'm a military spouse, and I'm like, okay, so I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know, like, do I get a sash? Do I go to ribbon cutting ceremonies? I don't know. I didn't know what it meant. So to be honest with you, for the first, like when we were in Portsmouth, we didn't live on a base. We were near a base. He was just at the hospital. So I ended up taking a job in Toronto and flying back and forth from Portsmouth to Toronto all the time. Um, and then when we moved to Jacksonville, where my son was born, and then she deployed, and that's when I really discovered the military spouse community because Oakleaf and Jacksonville really helped me out and us out as a family when she was gone because she basically handed me a 1-year-old and said, jumped on. I still remember getting on a Southwest plane going, I'm like, and so, I looked in his diaper and I looked under his little shirt and I didn't see a manual. I figured she took it with her and just forgot to leave it. But it turns out there is no manual. So I had to figure all that myself. And that's when like I leaned on some of the people that I had met at the command and spouses, and they were really good. And there's a really good friends of us, Gabe and Nicole, who were stationed there in Jacksonville as well, and Gabe and Nicole Lee, Captain Lee. They were gold for me. I mean, I don't know that I could have, made it through that deployment without them because they were just, he's a pediatrician, so that's great. So I would call him with all kinds. Oh my God, he's got little red bumps on his butt. I'm not sure what's going on. And I just remember the response was, "It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. He'll be fine." So he would always say it's gonna be fine. And so that kind of stuck through her deployment. Every time I would get panic or like think of stuff, I hear him saying, "Be fine." And then when then we went to DC, obviously not on a base, but when we got to Okinawa, now I'm really like, now you're like, there's nobody here as far as I was concerned, as far as work or anything like that. I didn't know what to expect. And then I was in the commissary one day and I see like another guy he's got a beard. So I know he's not. And I'm kind of looking at him like this and he looks at me like this. And I'm like, we're just sizing each other up. We're like, okay, we're in the same boat. I got you. But we never said a word to each other. And we run into each other a couple of times. And then I met a friend of mine who became a dear friend, Cody. And he and Phil was the original gentleman I met, formed the Man Pendant Facebook site. And they made me an administrator and had me come on. And we were kind of, they launched it. And I just kind of like jumped on and followed their red carpet of success. And we started, like, every time we would see a guy on base, like, hey, you got to join Man Pendant. We started doing meetings. We started doing, hanging out, doing parties, and talking about stuff online. And if anybody needed help, we were always there. So it was the spouse community really came into play hardcore when she deployed, and then when I was raising my son and in Jacksonville, and really again here in Okinawa, where it's a really tight group. Everyone says the military is huge and vast, but it's a small military when you think about it. Far as, especially when you're stationed in Okinawa, which is by the way, for those of you that are getting orders or anything to Okinawa, jump at the chance. I know that it's scary because it was scary for me. I didn't know what to expect. I don't speak Japanese, my Spanish is going to save me here. So I said, it's the biggest kept secret, the best kept secret in the military. People who come here don't want to come here. They come kicking and screaming. You got to drag them. Once you're here, they never want to leave. So
I completely second that. I completely second that. I did 4 years in Okinawa. I wish every day that we could go back. And let's talk about your YouTube channel, because everybody can pretend like they live in Okinawa if they just visit your YouTube channel. It's called My Life in Okinawa. David, take it away. Tell us everything about your YouTube channel. It's amazing.
So it started off as, so now I'm leaving my job in DC and I'm going to move to Okinawa. So I thought it'd be a fun video to put up on YouTube, saying, hey, everyone, I'm getting thrown out of DC. Well, actually, not really. I'm just going to Okinawa with the Navy. And so I started it that way. And then I did a video when I got here. I actually chronicled the whole trip from DC to Okinawa, including the plane ride and everything, including we were not prepared for overseas PCS. We had like really old luggage. And I remember like the carry-on that I had, the wheels disintegrated in Chicago. So I'm like dragging it down the aisle and everybody's looking at me because it's going, and I'm just like, oh boy, got like a backpack, another bag, because we were basically taking our life overseas. Most of the stuff that we own, like clothes and everything. So we had 13 bags and we just looked like, I think we probably looked like the Beverly Hillbillies truck, like all packed up full of stuff, like going down the aisle where most people have like these really cool like carry-ons or just one backpack. They're probably going, where are these guys going? It looks like they're running away from home, but yeah, it's an interesting channel. So back to the YouTube channel. Sorry, I digressed for a bit. So I just started documenting because like I said, I'm a video producer at heart. So I just started documenting my travels and Okinawa and what's great about here and some of the weird things that I don't understand. But yet it's custom here. And then my wife joined a dragon boat team, the Yasha Dragons Okinawa. And those are a great bunch of women. And I did a series on that dragon boat team. The dragon boat is huge in Okinawa and in Asia, just huge. And the haris that they throw are just amazing. So I did a 6-part series, documentary style on them. And then I just started going out and finding fun things to do in Okinawa. And, I bought my car from mainland and shipped it here. And so people started asking me, how'd you do that? So I did a video on that. And I've actually did a bunch of house tours. So what to expect if you're going to find a house off base or something. And I've gotten a lot of emails from spouses and also contractors and other people that are coming to Okinawa and said your videos really helped me a lot. And I'm really touched by that because for me, it was just a goof. It started off as a goof, but now it's kind of like, I really have to, work at this because it's actually been useful to a lot of people. So.
Totally. I remember moving there for the second time back in 2009, and I knew someone else who was moving at the same time, and she was desperate for resources. And she found a few Facebook pages, but that was it. So I can only imagine. I mean, anytime you're moving overseas, you don't know what to expect. You just hope to find something. You've got an entire life of life in Okinawa, entire video diary of life in Okinawa that's helping people. So I would imagine that you are like a lifeline to a bunch of people.
I try to make it as easy to follow as possible. And for those of you moving anywhere in Japan, I would say to you, don't be worried about the language barrier. Everybody here is really great. Mainland Japan, you'll be amazed at how clean everything is. You'll also be amazed at how great McDonald's is. I mean, when they give you, let's just picture. I mean, I've been to a McDonald's in the States where you open the Big Mac thing and it's like, oh my God, it looks like a tornado hit it before they put it into the box. Here, I actually had an experience where I took my son to McDonald's. I opened the Big Mac thing and I think the bun was askew and the manager came out running and took it and brought me a new one because it didn't look like, I guess it didn't look like the picture. So that's pretty funny. But don't be afraid if you're coming to Japan. If you're PCS in Japan, it's going to be wonderful. You're going to enjoy it a lot. And just don't be afraid of it. The kids are going to have a great time. It's one of the safest places I've ever been. And you will see 3 and 4-year-olds walking to school in the morning. 3, 4, 5-year-old kids walking to school with backpacks on. It's insane.
Let's hear a little bit more about what it's like. You have a toddler, you have a son. I guess he's not a toddler anymore, is he?
He's 8.
He's how old?
He's 8 years old.
Okay, he's 8 years old. What's it like to have a little kid when you're living overseas? What's it like to be raising a kid in Japan?
Well, I could show you my hairline, but there's not much left of it. That's what it's like raising a kid in general. But he's actually really adapted very well. He loves sushi and sashimi, so he eats all that like crazy. He loves quail eggs, which I don't, but I mean, I'm very picky eater. My wife, he gets it from my wife. My wife will see like a sauce on the table and she'll be like, oh, let me see. And then I'm like, oh, you don't even know what that is, but she's no fear. And he's like that. And I appreciate that he's like that. Don't have daddy's food issues. And he just loves it here. And he's doing taiko drum now at school because they are in school. And he just loves going to the haris. He loves discovering Japan, and he's just soaking it up like a sponge, and it's fun to watch. It's really fun to watch.
Is he picking up any of the language?
So they have a culture class, and he does say thank you, and he knows how to say thank you very much, and good morning, good evening. He's picking up a lot, probably more than I have. Mm-hmm. I should know more. I just don't think I know enough.
Kids are amazing at that, aren't they? Well, you've also been busy, so you've found a way to now bring your career to Okinawa. So what are you doing now?
So I am now, read my title because it's a new job. There we go. Deputy Chief of Operations for American Forces Radio for AFN. So I'm in charge of the AFN here in Okinawa, in Hawaii, and in Diego Garcia. If you don't know where Diego Garcia is, that's okay. I didn't either. And apparently, very hard to find on a map. Really pinch the phone and find it. But it's been a really great. It's fun here because now not only as a military spouse do I get to do my normal things day to day, but now I actually get to work at a place that specifically services active duty and family service members outside the fence of the United States. So it's been really a lot of fun. The people here are amazing, and it's kind of fun. I consider myself now. I'm going to date myself by so for those of you younger kids and guys and girls on the phone, I am the Mr. Carlson, like from WKRP in Cincinnati. That's what I consider myself, And I have a group here that's fantastic, and they really care about what they do, and they really care about their jobs and making everybody's life here a little better. It's pretty good. I'm very blessed to have this job.
That's awesome. And congratulations on that, because I feel like it's not always easy for spouses, male or female, to transition their passion into an actual career, especially when overseas. So congratulations to you on that.
Sometimes I find that a lot, especially with the male military spouses here, because there's a stigma where like you're supposed to come home and bring the check and drop it on the table, and then you guys divvy it up, and then we go shopping and stuff like that. So especially for male spouses, when you come here, and it's tough to find a job. It's not easy. It's really not easy. And so what we do with the group that we have, we just kind of try to console each other and consult each other and see what's going on and offer help in different ways. I always post job postings on my page and on the Man Pendant page to see, hey, this is opportunity opened up. It'd be a good gig for one of you guys. And we just try to talk it out and make sure that no one's feeling alone or isolated. I say if you're at home staring at the wall, whether you have kids or not, I'm going to grab your arm and take you and show you around Okinawa. I'm going to throw you in my van like a kidnapper, and I'm going to take you somewhere really cool, and you're probably going to want to leave your house after that. But we just try to make sure that everybody's taken care of and that the guys aren't feeling alone and isolated, because you can pick your poison. You can go out and be social and really explore, or if you've just never been out here before, you've never been out of the States, it can be pretty intimidating. So we just want to make sure that they know that we're here for them, and we just really appreciate the camaraderie between the fellows that are here in Okinawa and Man Pendant and across the States. A lot of them have PCS, and I encourage them to go start a Man Pendant page wherever they are. Make sure that the guys that where you are at, whether you're in Arizona or whether you're in North Dakota, just make sure that they know that there's more of us out there. As of 2016, there were 100,000 male military spouses. So,
are they all on the Man Pendant Facebook page?
Yeah, there's a Man Pendant Facebook page, and there's also the national page, and there's also the Okinawa page. And I encourage everyone to jump on the page if you're a male military spouse. And once this COVID thing lightens up, because we are under some restrictions now, but once this restrictions lighten up, we'll go back to doing like either barbecues or going to the camping. And I know we try to do that social distancing thing. So we just keep everything in check.
That's so important, because I think no matter who you are, but especially I feel like for male military spouses, mental health is such a big deal, and keeping yourself sane, especially with the crazy year now that we've had. It's so important to focus on really finding clarity and finding that normalcy. So when it comes to mental health with any military family, do you have any recommendations? I mean, obviously you're not a doctor, but you seem to have found a way to reach out to other spouses who might be struggling. Do you have any recommendations on how we can reach out to the brotherhood or the sisterhood of military spouses to help out right now?
Well, being married to a psychiatrist, yes. So that's why I'm laughing, because I think it's funny. Not the mental health is funny. But yeah, actually, there are a lot of services that are available to the military community, both active and spouses. And I think every command is different. But, a lot of people during COVID, it doesn't matter whether you can bench press 450 and run a mile, and I don't know, because I don't run a mile, but in whatever time that they do that stuff at too. You think that these milestones that the military or that society imposes on you, You could be the strongest person on the face of the planet and still feel like you're the only one on earth, and your problems are unsurmountable, and you're spiraling. There's a lot of things that happen with both active, not just military spouse, but active duty as well. There's a lot of services and resources out there. And especially on island here, we do a good job, especially AFN does a good job of getting people in on the radio to talk about it here now and make sure that everybody knows that there are services available for service members and for family members as far as mental health is concerned. Look, COVID isn't easy. If you had told me a year and a half ago that you're going to be stuck in your house and you can't go anywhere, actively restaurants, you got to wear a mask. When I came here to Japan, people already wore masks, and I thought that was insane. I don't know why were they wearing masks? Where they're hiding? Did they just have dental work done? I wasn't sure, and I just figured. When the COVID hit, I'm like, this is going to be terrifying to a lot of people who are either introverts or don't know can't handle the pressure, because I don't think any of us knew what was coming. And especially as it never becomes normal. This isn't a normal thing. No matter how long it is, it's not normal. So I always say, check to your command, check to your spouse group, check in with, the services that your command or your hospital or your local area provides, and investigate them and reach out and extend your hand. You'll be amazed if you extend your hand, how many hands you get back, how many people want to lift you up and pull you up out of the spiral you're in. And there's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame, absolutely none. And you should always just, it's not an ego thing, it's a life thing. So if you want to get successful and you want to have a good life and you want to, break free of whatever ails you, sometimes the good conversation with either a friend or a licensed professional is really what you need.
I love that. I'm sitting here thinking, how can we get t-shirts made that say that? I really like that. That was poignant. Reach out your hand. You never know how many you're going to get back. That was great. I can tell that you've probably helped a lot of people just by being there for them.
We've had a couple of instances here on island. Well, when one in particular that sticks out, where a friend of ours was not having a great day or a great week. And he said some things that led us to believe that maybe he was in a dark place. And it's amazing, because I remember I had my son, and all of a sudden my messenger starts going off. We have to go find him. Let's go find him. Let's go here. And that my Cody and Phil and a bunch of other guys finally, they formed like a search party, and we got a hold of him. And very dark place. Not going into too much details, we were able to get him help and counseling that he needed. And that's what it is, right? It's all of us pulling together. It doesn't matter whether we're male military spouse, female military spouse, green with purple polka dots military spouse. We need to help each other because we're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. And it's even when they're out of the service, and you're still a military spouse no matter what. She says, she joined the Navy for 4 years, but I'm going to be in the Navy for life as a military spouse. You never just, you don't just, pass the baton to somebody else. So I think, again, reinforcing, just extend your hand and ask for help. There's no shame in that.
I'm a little bit, you gave me goosebumps, because it's so true. The world is big, but it's never felt smaller than this year, right? Because everybody, no matter where you are in the world, has been going through what we've all been going through. I just love how much you're able to help people. And you're so right. Even though there are hundreds of thousands of military spouses and male military spouses, we're all in this together, and we have this unique experience. And when you meet another military spouse, you know it and you get it. So I love that. Let's all link arms around the world and help each other out. I want to make it a little bit lighter now. There is a term that I would love to hear your take on, the term mansplaining. What is mansplaining to you, and how can we as female spouses stop mansplaining?
How can female spouses stop mansplaining?
Yes, talk to me about that word.
I don't, I've been accused of mansplaining, but I've been accused of that, and maybe I was, but in my mind, I was just trying to be thorough with directions. That's my excuse. That's my crutch and my cross to bear. But I think if you're asking how they can communicate better with male military spouses, or how they can get male military spouses on board with whatever they're doing in their programs, it's simple. It's just to ask. I think a lot of a lot of people try to think that, well, how do I talk to them? How will they join our group and stuff like that? I'm like, I mean, there's different ways of asking, and usually it's just come right out and be blunt. Guys don't have ESP. We don't know what everybody else is thinking. We don't know why you're mad at us. We never do. We just assume. It's kind of like that meme where the woman's in bed going, I wonder what he's thinking about. If he's thinking about what he did today, and the guy's, in the little thought box above his head is saying, I wonder if I turned my dog upside down. If it's stupid things like that. I would say just ask. If you want to bring in guys into your group and male dependents into your group, male spouses, whatever, just reach out and ask. I mean, that's the only thing I could tell you. Other than that, I'm definitely guilty of mansplaining. I think every guy is, Did that answer your question? I don't know if it did.
So I think what I'm trying to get at is we have this team, the USO team, and we are a bunch of military spouses, but we're all female. We are so interested in getting more male military spouses to join what we're doing, to come to our programs and to be a part of our team, to come into our centers once they're open again safely, but even to join us virtually. So maybe, I guess what I should have said, although thank you for the mansplaining thing, how can we get male military spouses more involved? And maybe even back up a bigger question, what are some of the issues that you all are facing that we might not even have on our radar that female spouses don't have to deal with? What are some of the things that you deal with, and how can we incorporate you so that you feel more part of the whole spouse group?
Well, if get them in is really simple. Just get a keg and some pretzels and we'll show up. Eventually we'll figure it out. I'm totally kidding. That's not true. I think some of the issues that we deal with obviously is employment. Some of the issues that we deal with, lack of employment, I should say. Some of the other issues are strictly like, we don't see the opportunities when the email, and usually when the email, and I say that everybody's guilty of this, but some are. When the email starts off with, hey ladies, we've got a great program for you today. I can't hit the garbage can delete thing fast enough. I'm like, nah, it's not for me. It's not. So I would just say, try to be a little more inviting on the emails, that the mass. And I know you're sending out a ton of emails and it's a lot of work, but just say, hey everyone, ladies and gentlemen, and we're more than willing to volunteer for a lot of things. We've got a lot of different skill sets that we bring from either our careers that we had to put on hold or from life experience that we would love to help. If you need a project completed or help on a project, reach out to everybody and just include us. We just want to be included. That's all. And it's and a lot of people are really good about that. And some aren't. Some haven't caught up yet, which is fine. It's not their fault because statistically we are a minority amount of the whole military spouse community. So, just reach out to us and try to get us involved as much as you can. I think, if you do a lot of events and that you can bring your kids, some military male spouses will bring the children as well. I think we're always looking for like play dates as much as anybody else is looking for play dates. And we're also looking for something that we can, contribute and get involved in. And we've got the the will and the power to do it. So just be a little more inclusive and just kind of like single us out. And one of the biggest things you could do too is ask your members if they know any male military spouses, and if they do, have them join your group or extend an invite to them as well. That's the only way. Otherwise, because like I said, as we were in Portsmouth, I didn't know anything about it. In DC, I went to one meeting and it wasn't great. For me, it was great for everybody else. And, just make sure that awareness is really, if you don't know it exists and you're not going to go looking for it. But if somebody says, hey, you should join, like Man Pendant, when Cody said, you should join this page Man Pendant with us, I was all in because I didn't know that existed. I'm sure a lot of the male military spouses probably think that everyone's doing knitting or something silly, not the knitting silly, but something that it won't jive with them. And I think they'd be surprised to see the diversity and the amount of stuff that most spouse groups do, because I can tell you from being in Jacksonville with Oakleaf, that the amount of work that those women did, men and women, because I wasn't the only male there, was amazing. And I can honestly say, I think that that's pretty much copied in every spouse community across the country and across Europe and Asia.
That's a fantastic answer. And I'm taking so many mental notes right now. And I'm also, as you're talking, I'm also following along with what's happening in the chat box. David, I don't know if you can see it from your phone, but I do want to turn to our producer, Danielle, and to everyone who's watching and see, A, what's happening in the chat box, and B, do you guys have questions or comments for David? I mean, this is Coffee Connection Live. This is for everybody. So Danielle, what's happening in the chat box?
Well, first of all, a little earlier, Adam, I think it was, shared about the Dependabros chapters, and I just love that. So um, definitely connect, and we've been talking about the Man Pendant group and put that in here. But Adam just brought up a good point about prizes or giveaways. And so anything other than manicures and nail polish, which is, another really good piece of feedback. So that's kind of been the topic right now, is what could other, prizes and giveaways and things like that be, instead of leaning towards those, spa type things.
I'll tell you what, I think, and he's right. Independent Pros is a great page. And there's like, dads married to doctors in the military. There's a lot of other pages besides Man Pen. And I don't want to lessen their effect on the community I don't want to lessen that, because they are a big, big community as well. What we did here is, there's Makeman, which was like the Home Depot of Japan. Home Depot, here, give a $25 Home Depot gift card or something like that. These are things that we'll actually go and use. We actually want to go, gas cards is another one. We've got to take our family places. It's just, it's probably the simplest things. You don't have to necessarily cater to us. You just have to think a little outside the box as far as what we would enjoy. Is there a World of Beer in your area? I know there's one in Tampa. A little gift certificate to that. Can we do that? I'm not sure we can do that, but it would help.
Not sure we can do that legally, but
Right.
everybody else take notes. The USO will not be giving away World of Beer, but I love those ideas. We do partner with Lowe's, so I have to give a shout out to Lowe's rather than Home Depot or Makemon. But yes, everybody needs that kind of thing when they're getting settled, either before or after a PCS. Gas cards are brilliant. Thank you. Those are really good suggestions. I hope one of my teammates is writing these down. Do we have anything in the Q&A box, or I'm curious if anybody in the chat box has more questions for David.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining and watching me this morning. I didn't think I would get so many people online. Actually, I was kind of nervous I'd get nobody. I'd just be sitting here talking and be like, oh, I wish more people would join.
We record all of these. They're all on YouTube. You can link it to your YouTube channel, and you've got a fan club, actually.
Do I? No, I don't.
I think
sure
you do.
I don't think so.
See? Can you see these popping up, David?
Yeah, my wife just says hello. And Adam Evans, thank you. So they're popping up, but they're leaving faster than them, so I apologize.
It's all right.
But yeah, and Paulette's on there. I know that Paulette's on there. And the sensation ladies are just amazing. These, by the way, these women all across the country that were the Spouse of the Year for the respective branches are amazing. But I also want to tell you about the men and women who were here in Okinawa that won their bases, or that were up for the bases. I think every one of the nominees for, I read the bios. This is why I didn't think I was going to win, because I read the bios, and these people are so amazing. And I'm saying, well, no one's going to watch me. I just got a YouTube channel. What am I doing? These guys are like, they're solving problems. And here I am, like, hey, want to go see, a pizza vending machine, which does exist, by the way. But I'm just thinking, all these men and women who are spouses should definitely be celebrated, along with my personal, thing is the women in the military, the women that are active duty right now. These girls kick ass, and they are amazing. And they are fun to meet. And, I met a woman who was I believe she was I know one that said that flies planes, but the other one was like a chopper pilot. And she was telling me the most amazing stories. I was like, I would never have the courage to do what she did. And I'm like, wow, she's so badass. And I think we should celebrate the active duty women who are in the service as well. And they sometimes don't get the recognition they deserve. And they do a lot of great things, as do the males. But I think they should be celebrated as well. We shouldn't forget that, behind every military male spouse, there's an active duty or male spouse.
I love it. I love it. Danielle, what do we have in the Q&A box?
I think I saw one pop up in the chat about what is it like being Military Spouse of the Year. So tell us more about what that's been like for you.
So I like to say what really pulled me over the top was the swimsuit competition. I think I really shined, not so much in the talent, but I wear my sash proudly. And actually, it's not as glamorous as everybody thinks. Like, oh, you must be going all parades and doing the Queen wave. But no, it's actually COVID has really put the kibosh on that a little bit. We were supposed to do a lot of things in DC and a lot of community outreach. So what we do is we communicate with each other almost, I would say monthly because of my time difference, but I try to jump on as many calls as I can with the ladies who won for the year, and they are pretty amazing. So we keep communication, and we try to do like the Million Mile Project and some other projects where we want everyone to get moving and get out there and do something. And for me, it's been really interesting because I do get these cool coins. Let me just slide back here. So I do get these cool coins. I don't know, where's the camera? It's probably backwards, but whatever. And these cool little military spouse, which is kind of nice. And it's a lot of great stuff and a lot of generous companies and people that I always get cool stuff like this. But it's always it's nice to be thanked for something that we basically do every day and that everybody else does everything, and we just we're being recognized for that. So it's very humbling, to be honest with you. Whenever I get something in the mail or a letter from someone that says, hey, thanks for being out there and getting us some recognition, it's humbling, because I never signed up as a spouse to be like a leader or to influence or encourage anybody, but it just turned out that way, and I'm fortunate, can I tell you.
What's the Million Mile Project? I've not heard of that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That Paulette and the Sensational Six started, and it's on Facebook, and I'm gonna butcher it. I know I am, because because basically we want you to submit miles, get out there and going. We want you to start walking, start running, submit miles, and let's see how we can move together and get together and get active and just forget about what's going on in the world for a little bit. And it's under the Million Mile Project, and you can find a link. I believe I have a link on my Facebook page as well, and it's on Paulette's page, and I know it's on Bree's page and all the other girls there. So, yeah, it's a great part of the Facebook page, because I don't want to do it any injustice by half-assing it on my side. You know what I mean? So,
if anybody who's watching right now has that, would you put the link to it in the chat so that everybody else can check it out? I know I want to check it out.
Yeah.
Oh, Paulette says it's for awareness of PTSD and suicide prevention. It is so important. Truly, anything we can do to bring more awareness to that is absolutely important. There it is.
Every mile counts. Every single mile counts. So, go ahead on there and see how the girls are doing and see how I'm doing. I don't run, so I'm sorry. I walk. I don't run, but I do cycle. So I put my cycle up there, but I don't run. Sorry.
And are all the miles tracked on Facebook?
Somebody tracks them. Once you submit your miles on the page, they track them. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, got it. Adam, thank you for putting that in there. I see it now. MilitarySpouse.com. It must have been an article about it.
Thanks, Adam.
I love this. I'm trying to keep up with the chat box too, and I feel bad for anyone who's watching this after the fact on YouTube. You're not going to see the chat box, but we'll try to explain what's in there. People are sharing links, and it's fabulous. Tune them in 22nd of every month. Join us. Okay, so we turn in miles on the 22nd of every month. And is that 22 like we did the 22 push-ups for veteran suicide?
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. That's fabulous. I had no idea that was even going on. Thank you, everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah, Paulette's been really spearheading that, and the girls have been spearheading that as well, and they're all pretty amazing women. I love talking to them, because we talk like we're old friends, like we've been friends forever, even though some of them have met each other. I've never met any of them personally. And I feel like they're like my extended family, which is fantastic. It's always good to have them in your corner. And sometimes like they answer me, like, hey, what does this mean? There's a lot of acronyms in the military that I'm not really hip on. So I'm like, hey, what does this mean? And they're like, oh, that's this. I'm like, oh, thank God. All right, cool. So it's great to know you have a resource with these girls, and they're just amazing.
I love it. I love it. I have a couple questions listed here that we asked people when they registered to join us tonight. we asked ahead of time. Somebody wanted to know, we might have touched on this, but we can talk about it again. How do you recommend military spouse organizations or command teams better integrate programming to serve male spouses?
I think it starts off like there's no one silver bullet that's gonna solve the problem or engage a male military spouse, like oh yeah, this is it, so we'll just implement that across the board. I think what you have to do, you really have to start looking around and asking, first of all, is there a community out there? Are there enough members out there? And start, like I said, inviting them, talk to them, have a group, a coffee group. Like this is a great venue, and have something like this virtual if you can't do it in person. And reach, hey, what would you guys like to do? Like maybe one group of guys in a certain area want to do something that a different group of guys in an area, like maybe in California you do more stuff outside, but in middle winter in Vermont maybe you're not. So I would just say reach out and see what you can offer. Take their suggestions as well, because nobody knows what they want more than they do, and bring them into the group. And then I think it'll be pretty cohesive. I mean, I think people will, especially the male group, will want to integrate themselves into the group and be a productive member and positive, because we're all willing to help. I think we just kind of want to be tapped on the shoulder and asked. That's really it.
Yeah, and I think that's universal. I think that goes for anybody, no matter your gender. I do want to throw in a plug for virtual coffee connections. Obviously, this is Coffee Connection Live, but there are many USO centers around the world right now hosting coffee connections, either in person for small groups. There are several in Okinawa hosting them. Camp Foster is about to have one. But those which can't have people attending the centers, we're having virtual coffee connections, and they are not only for females. So for any of the guys who are watching, and to include you, David, if you see an ad for a virtual coffee connection coming up, please join, because we love to have the conversation. We love to bring everyone together. It's as simple as having a cup of coffee and making connections, truly. And Nicole just put the link in there to find the nearest virtual coffee connection. It doesn't even have to be near you. If you want to join one in Italy, join one in Italy, join one in Okinawa, right?
I'm a huge fan of the USO, and it goes back to when I was traveling with my son, when I was working and taking care of him alone. I would have to travel on planes and go to different places for video shoots, and I would take him with me. And one of the greatest things about the USO was that, and I can say for most of the sites I visited, but the one that stands out to me was the one in Charlotte. Wow, that USO is ridiculous. I mean, they're stocked with everything and anything you could possibly imagine. And they've helped me with my son, and because you're traveling with a child. At that time he was like a 1 or 2 year old, and it's just a lot for me, plus work and traveling. And when I would go to the USO, I knew that I'd find a cold drink there, like a soda. I could get apple juice for him or whatever, water. I could feed him. There's movies, there's books for kids. I mean, it was just amazing. And the USO has always been there for my family. We had before my son was born, we had a pretty bad plane trip into DC that we were supposed to keep going to Portsmouth, and they canceled the flight mid-flight, so we turned around, and it was a really bad flight. It was through like some really serious weather. And I remember that the USO saw how I was shaken. My wife and I were pretty shaken up by the flight, as were most people there. We had the luxury of the USO representative coming up to us, because they knew my wife was active duty, and offered us a hotel room that night and a shuttle bus in the morning back to the airport so we could take a flight the next day. And to me, that there's certain things that stick in your head, like certain people you meet in certain times in your life that you'll never forget. And that's one of the ones that I won't forget. And that's, to me, I throw money at the USO every time I'm near them. I publicize USO. I can't say enough of good things about them. They've touched our lives directly, and I think a lot of guys that I know, that some of the male military spouses, when they go through the airports and stuff, they always stop at a USO, and I encourage them to do that, because I think it's you guys are providing a great service. You definitely need you should get $1 trillion more dollars funding than you get now. I firmly believe that. I think it's a great organization, and I encourage everybody. I encourage everybody to visit one and go to their page and hit the donate button, because and this is not, they didn't ask me to say any of this. This is just my personal experience, because I had such a positive interaction with them, and that will never change. And I think the USO is just amazing. Plus, interacting with them here in Okinawa, especially Cindy over here in Okinawa, she's great, and the amount of celebrities that they bring out here for the troops and the entertainment acts and everything, it's just sometimes when I think about what you guys do, it's kind of overwhelming, isn't it? Because you do so much. Maybe sometimes I don't think you guys get enough credit for it. I'm just, giving you a little credit.
Oh, well, thank you for that. It's a big organization. Like you mentioned at the beginning, we're turning 80 years old on February 4th, 80 years old this year. We do a lot. Some people think of us as entertainment only, but we have the centers, and we especially want spouses to know that they can come to our centers. You wouldn't believe how many military spouses we encounter when we say, well, have you been to a USO? And they say, oh, well, no, my spouse wasn't with me and I didn't think I could go in.
Yeah.
The USO is for everyone. So the next time you're in an airport, the next time you're on an installation, find the USO. We're here for you. And we got a lot going on for more than just the active duty folks. So there's a lot that we do. So thank you for that. That was a nice unprompted plug. We had another question from somebody who registered ahead of time. And again, I think we touched on this a little bit, but I'll give you a second opportunity to expand on it if you want. As a senior spouse, what kind of activities can we offer to host that are more inclusive overall?
I think just whether it's a beach day or a park day, somewhere where you can be outside, obviously now because of COVID, but even before COVID, something like that where you're not committed to being in a room, in a conference room. You're not committed to being, you won't walk into a situation that it's not necessarily great to get out of if you don't just feel comfortable or it's not your thing. And for us here, like a lot of the beaches or parks, you can bring your kids. You can bring maybe your pets if you have a dog or something. And I think, that generally draws people in, whether you have a child or a dog or something like that, and you start talking about, well, I've got a kid too, you've got a kid, and then just start the conversation that way. I will give you a quick anecdote of my I think it was DC when I went to a military spouse meeting for the first time, and I walked in the door and everyone was sitting in a circle. They were very polite. There's donuts and coffee, and I thought, wow, this is great. And then I sat down, and the woman said, we were reading 50 Shades of Grey. Which passage would you like to read? And I said, oh yeah, you know what? I'm just going to show myself out, but I will take a donut and some coffee on the way out. Thank you so much, ladies. I think something a little more neutral. Some that everyone can join in would be fun. That wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but not necessarily saying that another guy wouldn't sit down and pick up and I want to go to chapter 7. I'm not sure, maybe they would, but it's not mine. And maybe they have the book memorized, which would be troubling, just very troubling. But I think anything outside, anything outdoors, anything that you can bring your kids to, anything, if you've got a league, whether it's a sports league or intramurals, whatever, just invite us. And if we don't show up, ask the question why. Maybe a phone call or a follow-up email. Hey, I noticed that you didn't show up here. I'm not meaning to hound you, but what do you think would work? What do you think would help you, would make your experience better? And just do it that way.
So don't be afraid to ask. I think that's a giant takeaway.
We don't bite. We don't bite. At first, we don't bite. Yeah.
Somebody once said that the male military spouse is kind of like a unicorn, and I'm fairly certain that unicorns don't bite either. So it's an appropriate metaphor, I suppose. I see that we have 5 minutes left. We're almost out of time. I want to make sure that, David, you have a chance to tell people a little bit more about how they can follow you. Where can they find more about you? Are you on social media? Tell us all the places that we can see what you're up to.
I'm on MilSpace, and that's really taking off right now. So I really think I got in at the ground floor of that. Actually, I'm on Facebook. You can find me at, I believe it's at Military Man Pendant. It's my public Facebook profile. I'm also on YouTube. You can find me at, My Life in Okinawa, and on Instagram as Military Man Pendant and Man Pendant. And you'll see it's got the same picture of me on all of them across the board, so you can't miss me. Definitely, if you are a male military spouse, look out. Just Google male military groups. You've got Dependa Bros. You've got Man Pendant. You've got a lot of other small groups out there. And by all means, we are not. I don't want to corner the market on male military spouses because that doesn't do me or them any good. I think everybody should branch out and look to see what groups are available and join them and just watch the chat, watch the comments, watch the discussion, and join in if you can. Find someone in your local area to communicate with and to become buddies with and just hang out and talk with, because sometimes you just need that talking partner. and that's it for social media for me. It's I post a lot of funny things. My videos on YouTube I'm pretty proud of them. I think they're funny and they're lighthearted, and it's just I post on Instagram shorter things. Like one day I saw our neighbor walking a bull up the street, so I posted a video of that. Yeah, a full size bull, just walking it like on a rope, like it's a dog. No big thing. It's Japan. They do that every day. So they're pretty insane. But I posted that on Instagram and got a lot of funny comments. But I'm just cataloging and chronicling my life here in Okinawa for everybody, not just male spouses. So I'm just putting myself out there and hoping that it makes a little bit of a difference in someone's life. Hey, if I can make you smile or grin for a little bit, even if you love me or hate me, I've done my job. And I can sit back and go, I got through half of them. I'm okay. I'm good with that. Those are good odds.
I can guarantee you're making a difference. And I can see just from the guys who've joined us tonight and the ladies that you are absolutely making a difference. You're helping other people's lives. We're so thankful for you joining us today to kick off your Friday with us, to cap off our Thursday with us. David Carrera, thank you so much for being here.